A lot of people today say there's been too much religion in politics generally, and I wonder how you would respond to that critique.
Well, the people who say that usually aren't religious, or they have a rather crabbed view of what religion should mean in a person's life. Since religion is a basic stance toward the world, it's hard to see how you can separate that from life as a citizen. It's got to influence how you value things.
What did you think of religion's role in this latest election? What kind of role did it surprise you, the prominence of religion in the latest election, or are we just there? It's just pretty much to be expected where we are these days.
I think the most surprising thing was that this year, for the first time in American history, one of the two major parties nominated a ticket without a Protestant. Never happened before.
Right.
And the ticket of Romney the Mormon and Paul Ryan the Catholic was produced by the Republican Party, the home of evangelical Christians right now.
Right.
Who knew? Who also knew that Mitt Romney's Mormonism would be of so little importance?
Yes.
People just didn't care.
Right. Well, it seemed to me that they cared in the primary to some degree, and you had other candidates who were really there to take that evangelical vote. But once Romney achieved the nomination, it no longer became an issue. Was that your sense too? Or
sure. The last rival standing was the favorite candidate of the evangelical Christians, Rick Santorum.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, Romney beat Santorum.
One thing I did want to ask you a little bit about, so the John C. Danforth Center on Religion and Politics exists for many reasons, but one of them is to try and develop better models for rigorous and yet civil debate in public discourse. And I'm curious whether you agree with that goal. Do you think that we've lost the ability, maybe because of our media or for whatever reason, to debate things rationally and fairly in the public sphere? And what do you think we need today?
I don't think that the average American talking politics over the back fence with his neighbor is uncivil. And I think people differ perfectly amicably at the coffee shop. In the media echo chamber, you get a very different view of America, but it's not an accurate view of America. The cable world where this occurs, MSNBC, Fox, all the rest, are two choirs preaching to the choirs. I mean, the first place, they have small audiences, intense audiences, important audiences because they're political activists, but small. Most Americans are busy mowing the lawn, changing the screen door, washing the car, raising children. They're too busy to watch MSNBC. They're not interested in Fox.
Right.
And so those of us who pay a lot of attention to this tend to lose sight of the fact of how weird we are, who pay that much attention to political argument.
One reason I came to St. Louis and to this center was to try and help facilitate a more robust civil discourse. I guess I wonder what advice you would have for us here at the center, how we can best achieve that. We don't want to be a center of niceness, which Senator Danforth many times has said. That's not our goal.
Nice is overrated.
Nice is overrated. We want to be robust, but we want to do it in a civil way. How do you think we can best do that?
Well, first, understand that America has a long tradition of, shall we say, muscular argument. In the 1800 election, probably the most important election in the history of the world, Jefferson against John Adams, basically. First election that resulted in one group of politicians turning over office peacefully to another group because they lost an election. Astonishing. Our party system was just coalescing. In that election, the Jeffersonians said, if Adams is elected, they're going to institute a monarchy. The Adams people said, the Federalists said, if Jeffersonians win, they're going to confiscate the Bibles. Well, that was America's discourse then.
Right.
A little bit vigorous. The newspapers at that point were run by parties. There were no bones about it. They were party organs, and they were, as you might expect, correspondingly shrill. So we've been through this before. So that's the first part, is not to think that we live in unprecedented times. second, to understand that not all participants in the political argument are the same. Chris Matthews and Bill Riley, bless their hearts, are entertainers, and they are entertaining their people, and occasionally by accident informing them. But basically they are, I mean, Rush Limbaugh calls himself an entertainer. And his self-awareness is to be praised.
Right.
But again, most Americans aren't like that.
But there are costs to maintaining that principle that you've maintained, I would think.
Well, but people appreciate it. People are weary of loud television, I think.
Right.
The first fact about television is whatever you're doing in a stranger's living room. Yeah. And you don't want to make a scene in a stranger's living room.
Right.
It's not polite.
That's right.
And the strangers really don't want it. They may think they do, but when it happens, they sort of recoil, I think.
We're very grateful to you for engaging our students today and working with them. You've had a lot to say, including recently about liberal academia and about there being a lack of conservatives in academia. I guess I just wonder what you would say to current students. You know, there are conservatives on every campus, students and faculty. What advice or encouragement you would have for them?
For the conservatives?
Yes.
Well, they have things on their side. A, they're right. B, arithmetic will vindicate them on a lot of the budgetary and fiscal issues of the day. Third, remember where the conservative movement started. This is before their historical memory, but again, they ought to go back and study when Bill Buckley set out with National Review magazine. Bill Buckley, probably the most consequential journalist of the 20th century, was a conservative. No Reagan without Goldwater. No Goldwater without National Review magazine. No National Review magazine without one 25-year-old Yale graduate with a bright idea. So one guy with a spark of genius can change the world.